lovers, Victoria here and you're watching My Books at Me. Today I'm bringing you my second video. If you haven't seen my first one, it is my March wrap up. I will link to it here. But today I'm going to bring you now my April TBR. And to be honest, I have quite a few books on this TBR, but I am positive that I can get through quite a few of them. This month I have a 2-week university break from the 8th to whatever's 2 weeks after that. A mid-semester break. And while I do have a bit of reading to do for university, I'm pretty adamant that I can get through a number of books. I'm also participating in 2 readathons this month. The first is TBR Takedown 3.5 happening this coming weekend, and the second is the Dewey's 24-hour readathon, which is taking place on the 23rd, but I will be doing TBR videos closer to those readathons. So let me just show you the books that I'm going to read, and these are definitely in no particular order. The first book is Beloved Poison by E.S. Thompson. I talked about this book in my book haul, which you should also check out. This is a medical historical fiction novel set in the late 1800s around St. Saviour's Infirmary, which is to be demolished, but it is still very much active. And we follow our main character, Jem Flockhart, who is a secret apothecary, as she finds 6 tiny coffins in the abandoned chapel of the infirmary, and inside there are some herbs and some rags, and she starts to uncover some secrets of this infirmary, and yeah, that's all I really know, and it sounds really good, and I can't wait to read this one. The next book is a reread for me this month, so if I don't actually get round to it or get finished, I'm not going to mind. But that is Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom Riggs, the first book in Miss Peregrine's Peculiar Children trilogy. Ever since I watched the trailer, I've come to realise that I don't remember very much about this first book, and I do want to continue on to the other 2 books in this series, especially before the movie comes out in September. So I want to reread this one, hopefully this month, if not next month, but I want to reread this and get through the rest of the books in the series. The next book is one that I also mentioned in my book haul that I was very excited about, and that is Asylum by Madeline Rowe, the first book in the Asylum series. This is about this guy called Dan, who is doing the New Hampshire College Prep program over the summer, and they are staying in the Brooklyn dorm, which just happened to be an old psychiatric hospital. And so Dan, along with his new friends, sort of start to explore and find the old basements and start to uncover the secrets of this asylum and realize that it is a lot darker than anyone really knew. It's meant to be really creepy and really awesome, and as I said in my haul, it also has creepy old photos from real asylums, so I'm very excited for this one. The next book is a Penguin Little Black Classic, because I realized that I've owned the Little Black Classics, about 15 of them, for about a year now, and I've only ever read one, and it should be pretty easy to read them because they're only short. So this month I'm planning on reading 2. The first one is The Old Nurse's Story by Elizabeth Gaskell. This contains the old nurse's story and Curious If True, and it is about a ghostly child roams the Northumberland moors while fairy tale characters gather at a strange party in these 2 Victorian Gothic novels. I'm very intrigued about the Old Nurse's Tale story, or the Old Nurse's Story, and even the other one sounds really cool, so I'm very keen to get into this one, and I know I'm going to be able to finish this one this month. The other Little Black Classic I want to read this month is Anthem for Doomed Youth by Wilfred Owen. This is a collection of his poems. I don't know if it's actually his entire collection. It might be, but it's at least a fair few of them. I studied some of Wilfred Owen's poetry back in high school, and so I want to read it this month because it is war poetry from World War I, and this month is Anzac Day on the 25th of April. And Wilfred Owen was actually a soldier on, I think, at the Western Front. He was a soldier in World War I, and he wrote these poems, and either he died just before the war finished or kind of just after the war finished, and he's become famous after his death, obviously, because these poems were published after he died, or a majority of them anyway, and they are just really beautiful poems. They don't glorify war at all. They're very kind of graphic. It's just showing you the true horror and reality of the war, and I think they're really beautiful, and I can't wait to reread the ones I studied in school and read some more. Following on with the war theme, at the end of the month I do also want to read A Rose for the Anzac Boys by Jackie French. I don't really know too much about this. All I know is it follows 16-year-old Maggie McPherson, whose brother went missing, whose twin brother is fighting in the war, and he is listed as missing in the defeat of the Anzacs at Gallipoli. And so her and her friends start a canteen in France, and then she's recruited by the overstretched ambulance service, thrust into carnage and scenes of courage she could never have imagined. So I'm really keen for this one. I hope it's a really good read. Jackie French is a really good Australian author, and it'd be interesting to read something about the Anzacs that is aimed for a children to middle grade audience. The other Anzac War read that I want to read is actually one of my university books that I don't actually have to read this month, but I'm going to read this month, and that is D.H. Lawrence's The Fox, the Captain Stole, and The Ladybird. I've said this before, but I only have to read The Captain Stole for university, but I'm planning on reading all three. So these take place during World War One. In The Fox, two young women living on a small farm during the First World War find their solitary life interrupted. As the fox preys on their poultry, a human predator has the women in his sights. The Captain Stole explores the complex relationships between a German countess and a married Scottish soldier in occupied Germany, while in The Ladybird, a wounded prisoner of war has a disturbing influence on the English woman who visits him in hospital. So these sound like something I'm going to really enjoy, and I can't wait to get into them. Speaking of university reads, I'm also going to be reading my two other university books this month. I will be listening to these ones on audiobook because they are friggin' long. The first one is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, and the other one is The Mill on the Floss by George Eliot. I don't really know much about either of these books, but I have to read them this month, and the audiobooks are going to be my saviour, to be honest. I mean, they're quite chunky. Finally, the last book that I want to start this month is The Heir by Kira Cass. It's on my shelf. I just can't be bothered pulling it out, and I just discovered that I pulled off Happily Ever After instead. But anyway, I want to read The Heir, the fifth and final book in the selection series. The Crown comes out next month, and I want to catch up on these series because I was saving The Heir to read this month. Also this month, I have 3 books that I've already started that I'm going to finish, and I anticipate finishing them within the first week and a half. The first one is The Romance of the Forest by Anne Radcliffe. This is the other classic that I should have finished by now, and I'm not that far through, but I'm listening to the audiobook, powering through, and hopefully going to have this finished within the next couple of days. The other, I only have the dust jacket for because I'm too lazy to get up and go get the book, and that is Binge by Tyler Oakley. I am nearly finished this. I only have about a chapter and a half to finish, so this will probably be the next book that I finish today or tomorrow. And the other one that I have already started that I anticipate also finishing this month is Username Evie by Joe Sugg, aka Thatcher Joe. I'm about a third of the way through, and this is really enjoyable. Highly recommended. So these are the books that I plan on reading this month. It is quite a lot, but I do think I can kind of do it. To be honest, I feel like I could probably get through quite a few of these, and I hope I do because it'll be a good chunk of books off my TBR. Let me know in the comments below what sort of books you're planning on reading this month and whether you've read any of these books, and I will see you guys in a couple of days with my TBR Takedown 3.5 TBR. I'll see you guys then. Bye!